Nick Hayton from Chainstarter. Sir, it's very good to have you here. First of all, I would like to ask you why this event is so important for the family offices, and why have you decided to sponsor it?
Well, that's a very good question. This is our 5th time sponsoring this event, this family office event. And it's a rare opportunity to get so many families together, and we talk to them about different asset classes, and we talk to them about the things that we do, which is very much focused on blockchain, cryptocurrencies. So it gives them a different view of the potential of, investment, the potential of getting into new things, because these family offices, they are traditional, they're quite conservative, but they're open-minded, and this event is a fantastic opportunity for them to understand this new world of blockchain and crypto.
You said this is the 5th event that you have sponsored so far, and from the first event, things have changed. People are perceiving cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology in a different way.
Well, that's very interesting, because this is our 5th time of sponsoring, and the tone and the education and the knowledge of this audience has changed significantly. When we first got here, a lot of people were thinking Bitcoin, do I trust Bitcoin? Isn't it used by criminals? But now, sort of 18 months, 2 years on, the tone is entirely different, where they see blockchain as a legitimate technology, and they see cryptocurrencies as something that they should get involved in. If nothing else, they need to be aware of and do their research. So there's been a real sea change in their understanding of this emerging technology.
How much do you think blockchain will be widespread in the coming years, let's say in 2021 or 22?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because I always get asked about what's going to drive adoption. And of course, when there's massive change, if you think back to the days of the internet, in the early days, would you have done a credit card transaction, on the first platforms like PayPal or Amazon or anything like that, and you wouldn't have done transactions because you didn't trust it. So it does take a while for any massive change, any new market to gain momentum. And how do you gain momentum? Well, that's about educating the people, and it's also about people understanding and not fearing it. And that takes a bit of time. So I think, we're a decade into the Bitcoin blockchain world. I think it's going to be at least another 10 years before you get mass adoption.
And do you think that new companies, startups have evolved in the way they raise capital through cryptocurrencies and electronic tokens?
Well, there's a lot in that question, and let me answer it this way. We have a situation with the banking system, we're still not lending. We have venture capital money, which is technically quite expensive capital, and therefore the entrepreneurs and small businesses have found it very difficult to raise funding they need for their businesses. So if you think about where the blockchain sort of has come in the last 3 or 4 years, you've had this thing called ICOs, initial coin offerings, and almost entrepreneurs have been driven towards this sector because, as I said earlier, the existing banking system is difficult to get capital out of them. So it's come at the right time, and I think it's going to change again from ICOs to security token offerings, which is entirely regulated. So yeah, we're here because the banks and the existing system is not supporting entrepreneurs.
Lastly, to wrap up this question, what is your general assessment of the overall health of the global economy? Because the first panel was about a coming recession in the United States. What do you think?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that we're approaching a global recession, and it's going to be far worse and deeper and longer. So you have this famous economist called Nikolai Kondratiev, and he talks about seasons. And we've come out of a deflationary cycle, and we're going into an inflationary cycle where the interest rates of central banks are going to increase. All of the indicators suggest traditional capital markets saw their worst closing last year since the recession of 1929. So therefore, there is a lot of tricky times ahead. So what does that mean? It means that investors, smart capital, companies are going to be looking for safe havens. Where do they deploy their capital to secure their future? And in a recession, that's a very difficult choice because it's not going to be property, it's not going to be land because they tend to be quite illiquid assets. Is it going to be gold? Well, gold is already starting to make a move, but what else can they invest in? And that's up to us as a community of blockchain and Bitcoin to introduce projects and new asset classes for them to invest in. And I think, this will be the first global recession where you have an alternative to fiat currency, and it's called Bitcoin, and it could be quite profound.
Well, sir, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.